From Kool Herc creating the genre of hip-hop, to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5's creation of conscious rap, to Schooly D paving the way for NWA and gangsta rap. Nothing in hip-hop is born without the seeds being planted before them. In an industry where no one is 100% original, the music that most artists make is basically a retracing of what came before them in one way or another. And while the internet has opened the floodgates for more diverse and experimental rappers, the truth is, mainstream rap hasn't really changed. And the man lesser known as James Todd Smith, aka LL Cool J, definitely left his mark on the game. One of them being that, for an artist who can simultaneously command a massive female following, he was also able to appeal to rap's hardcore demographic at the same time. Born in time to witness hip-hop's inception, LL Cool J forever changed the industry when he became one of the first artists to sign to Def Jam. With his debut single, I Need a Beat, the brand-friendly and lyrically proficient LL played an instrumental role in helping the label to secure a distribution deal with Columbia. And before long, his 1985 debut album, Radio, became the first project Def Jam ever released. The man who brought the term GOAT into hip-hop, LL is a superstar who sold over 13 million records over the course of a career that largely took place before streaming. And cited by some as the blueprint for what you're supposed to do after your rhymes end, LL made a seamless transition from the charts to TV and movies, arguably boasting the second most successful on-screen career of any rapper, after Will Smith of course. But despite the fact that he hasn't released music since 2013, praise for LL and his influence has only increased over the years, with countless icons willing to tell the world that without him, there is no them.
Were you a fan of LL Cool J in the early days?
Of course, man, come on. Hearing him rap actually made me want to rap. That was what did it for me. And then I think when the Beastie Boys came out, then I kind of felt like, oh, it was possible. LL made me want to rap.
But while the previous generation is happy to give him his props, there are others who obviously follow in his footsteps that haven't so much as extended a hint of gratitude or acknowledgement his way. And where other rappers may be descendants of LL in a more direct way, there's a compelling case to be made that he was the prototype when it comes to Drake. And as far as LL himself is concerned, there's a lot of validity to that claim.
But we're very different artists because I have a lot of street, hard records, and I'm very diverse. But in that aspect of my career, it paved the way for guys like that, who I'm happy for. I like a lot of his music too. So
when breaking down the similarities between LL and Drizzy, it only makes sense to start with the strides that Cool J made on his sophomore record, Bigger and Deffer. Mostly on its lead single, I Need Love, a starkly honest ballad that saw him cry out for affection like few rappers had done before. LL let himself be vulnerable at a time when rappers were still calling themselves pimps. And just like Drake, LL faced accusations of going soft or selling out. Back then, it was really conservative, and if the energy wasn't testosterone, like I'm punching you in your face, kicking down the door, you don't get a lot of credit, said hip-hop's first certified lover boy when reflecting on his track like I Need Love. In hip-hop, you only get brownie points for creativity within certain parameters. When you try to go outside that box, if it's anything that's not considered 1000% street, you get no credit. A muscle-bound heartthrob at a time when other rappers were still trying to stun on other rappers, LL appealed to women in a way that hadn't been seen before. After all, his stage name literally means ladies love Cool James. But as he faced hate from the streets, LL simply ignored the hate and doubled down on his core fanbase. In comparison, over the years, Drake, who came out of the gate targeting women with tracks like Best I Ever Had, and has sprinkled women-focused cuts into his projects ever since, caught just as much as flack as LL, and similarly, refocused on stacking as much cash as he could. I want to move through life in the most non-confrontational way possible, but I'm not a Drizzy said when talks about being soft first came to the surface. Don't ever get that mixed up. Everyone comes up to me. I love your music. Even the hardest dudes, real estate dudes. If somebody wants to bring a problem to me, it's strictly based on their immense amount of hate for me. It's never because I've sparked that using my voice, my image, or my outlet. I never use my outlet for confrontation or negativity, ever. I always just try and give people music to ride to and music to enjoy. All I ever ask in return is that it's mutual love. Whether it's LL or Drake, categorizing them based on one aspect of their catalog isn't entirely fair. And during an interview with Shady, the legendary M inadvertently nailed the criteria that makes Drake and LL so comparable.
It was interesting to watch you and see your range as a writer. Your range as a writer was so incredible. And then when you didn't drop an album for a couple of years, then rap started advancing, then you came out, advanced it again. You could just do whatever anyone else was doing, and then you could do the better, especially when you came back with Mama Said Knock You Out.
Fusing radio appeal with harder edged tracks, Drake followed LL's lead by attempting to corner the market, and along the way, he's bolstered his appeal by plucking the best new talent from the streets and not only shining a spotlight on them, but giving his own street cred a boost as well.
Masterfully, I would say, LL's longevity has to do with him mastering the game. He'll put out a record with Boyz II Men that's a love song that's gonna chart without question and sell the album. Now, to the perception on the street, it's like, what is he doing? Blah, 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 blah. But to the industry, it's still another platinum album. What he also does on the album is he would do collaboration with some new street cats.
In this sense, LL mapped out how you can both win in the commercial space while also preventing hip-hop from completely disowning you. But in LL's own words, to say he was anything less than a rapper who used his skill set to sell out is a slight. Me being called the forefather of pop rap is very confusing. He tweeted in 2021, "What the f are you talking about? LOL." In his defense, LL came from an era where pop rap was seen as a parody. Instead, he actually made the genre more accessible to the masses in a way that Drizzy arguably did as well. As over the past decade or so, hip-hop has become the most popular genre of music. To LL, this means that while he did admittedly clear the way for Drake, their approaches to making music and their mindset are incomparably different.
I think that a lot of hip-hop fans who have grown up on hip-hop are starting to get into that kind of cranky place. But you know, you gotta let music evolve. You gotta let it be what it's gonna be. If the plant starts growing a little different, just let it grow, just water it. I'm still a fan of hip-hop that's more lyric-oriented and more about beats and rhymes and lyrics, but nowadays it's more about a chorus. If that's what they want to hear, then check out the chorus. No problem, I'm not hating. There's a lot of talented guys out there. Lil Wayne is talented. He seems to be the dominant figure in this particular era of hip-hop. I like Drake. There's a lot of talented guys out there. Kudos, fellas. I like your chorus.
Just as there are areas where the two can be naturally aligned, there are also a variety of ways in which LL and Drake are two opposites. Alongside his deep-rooted respect for the culture's foundations, one thing that sets him apart from Drake is his desire to educate the masses and dissuade them from dangerous paths.
Be strong, don't be soft. Being soft is falling victim to the drugs. Being soft is falling victim to the negativity that goes on in our neighborhoods. That's being soft, dog. Being hard is taking care of your family. The hardest thing in the world to do is to not pull the trigger, dog. I love y'all. Peace.
Taken from a show in 1997, LL's pedigree in the game meant that as soon as he had the opportunity, he would always strive to use his platform for good, and continue to do so during a recent appearance on Drink Champs, in which he advocated against hip-hop culture glorifying drug use. But where Drake should technically be entering the elder statesman stage of his career, one of the major critiques of Drake that LL avoided is that, in a lot of ways, he's still retreading his youth at every turn, with recent records spawning think pieces which paint Drake as an overgrown man-child. And at 36 years old, it still feels very much like he's making records with the charts in mind, rather than his own individual fulfillment or his love of the game. Whereas by the end of his career, LL had reverted back to doing what he loves on his final Def Jam release, Exit 13. Mr. Smith did 80,000 the first week and sold 3 million, he said at the time. Mama Said Knock You Out maybe did 100,000 first week, that sold 3 million. Bigger and Deffer sold triple platinum. I have a feeling that sold pretty well, but this is my favorite album that I've made. And with records such as 2004's The Definition and Todd Smith in 2006, it was clear that LL was already moving away from the foreground and into that of global ambassador for the culture. Meanwhile, as Drake approaches 40, it's hard to imagine him dropping back anytime soon, as he likely wants to cement himself as the all-time king of hip-hop. But as far as LL is concerned, Drake can't be the king of hip-hop.
And if you're gonna go by the original rules of hip-hop, you absolutely cannot. Okay. You can be the most popular, you can be the most commercially successful, but you can't be considered the one. Like Michael Jordan has to play basketball for Michael Jordan. So he can't send LeBron out to play and then he sits on the bench and gets the points on his board. You gotta write your own choice, B.
Although there's plenty of elements of similarity between LL and Drizzy, there are just as many ways in which they vastly differ. By definition, tracks such as I Need Love and Doing It Well are the spiritual forebearers to everything from Find Your Love to In My Feelings. Likewise, the barriers that LL broke down meant that there was already a precedent for what Drake is now renowned for today. However, there are other ideological divides between them that in some ways put them at opposite ends of the spectrum from one another. Where LL is a faithful servant to hip-hop, Drizzy has created his own lane. Nevertheless, they say that every generation should surpass the previous one. And after LL set a course for what could be accomplished, Drake took those foundations and built a kingdom on it. As such, when the hip-hop historians pen their books, it seems all too clear that they'll always be seen as a part of the same family tree, whether Drizzy wants to acknowledge it or not.